Welcome back to another episode of the Virtual GM Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about all the pros and cons of OTAs. If you don't know what an OTA is, that's an online travel agent. That's your Expedias, your Booking.coms, your Airbnb. And you know what? They're a necessary evil of the hospitality industry, but we're going to give you all the keys and insights that you need so you can make those work for you. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and most importantly, enjoy the episode.
Hi, welcome back to the Virtual GM Podcast. I am your co-host, Megan, and today we are on episode 4, season 2. Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the OTAs.
It is the necessary evil of hospitality.
It is.
You know, you don't want them, but you got to have them. But before we get into that, because we are on the EOS platform, you know, we got to hit you off with a segue. I'll rip it off first. So my personal best in the last week is I have another podcast called the Winning the Moment podcast from my book, Winning the Moment. And I just recorded episode 52 with Megan, our first time on the podcast. So that was a big milestone for me. That represents a year of recording, which is a big deal. And I'm just so proud of the evolution of that. You know, it's a much harder segmentation of podcasts to break into because I'm competing with Joe Rogan's and Lewis Howes and all the amazing thought leaders out there. And so it's been a grind, but I've really, really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to another year. And it's funny, these two are serendipitous where we're now starting season 2 of this one. So it's like they kind of have this, they're living together parallel, which is really cool. And then my business best is we have a brand new property that is official. You can book your stay right now. It is the Local Motel and Shops in Eugene, Oregon. The owner, Jordan Iverson, you have seen him on HGTV. He is an incredible designer. He had a whole series. He's got this amazing collection of cabins in the Oregon area, Dreamtime Getaways. He's got this amazing hotel called the 505 in downtown Eugene, where every room has a different theme. And this is his newest property, the Local Motel and Shops. 12 rooms, right? 11 rooms, mixed-use commercial. So they've got some retail there too. And the design work is amazing. Over like 150 pieces of custom artwork. And he just absolutely blew it out of the water. Go check out their website. Go book your stay. You will not regret it. It is an incredible property. And it's been a long time coming. So very cool to get that up and running.
Awesome. Okay, my turn. All right, personal best. Cody and I got a gym membership last week.
I can't wait to pay for it and not go.
No, you're definitely going now.
I am.
I mean, I already have a gym membership. This is my second one, so it's pretty cool. I'm excited about it.
I have not had like a regular gym membership in...
Yeah, it was a little intimidating walking into the gym. Like, I go to F45, so it's like you show up, no mirrors, you just work out. But a regular gym, it was intimidating.
Yeah, I'm going to get
So I'm proud of myself, proud of us.
I'm going today.
Yeah, you are.
What gym?
Summit.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah.
I had to ask.
We get a discount.
For living in Desert Color.
Yeah. Which is nice. And then let's see, business. Another part of my job is finances. I was able to complete all the end of month finances, doing all the reconciliations, which is a huge task. And so
it is a big task.
Really great.
For all of our clients that we do their finances for, it's really important to us that we have all of your finances done by the 10th of every month. So that means you're receiving your P&L for that previous month. You're receiving your P&L year to date. You're getting an updated balance sheet, and then you're getting a reconciled budget sheet, which has all of your expenses and all your cash flow. I take that very seriously. That's something that's important to Megan and I as individuals, as a husband and wife, in our personal life and our business life. And so we take, anytime that we are working on someone's finances, we take that very seriously. And we try, and I think we had it done on like the first.
We did. Yeah. We usually do the first or the second for sure.
Kind of depends on when it falls in the week. But I just think it's so important to have that dial. So many business owners are trying to figure out last year's expenses.
Right.
You know, like right now they're trying to figure out what they spent in May of 2023.
We have a very detailed budget.
With receipts, with the detail.
Going.
There's not going to be a dollar unaccounted for if you're working with us on that.
Yeah.
But that is not what we're talking about today. Today, we're actually talking about the pros and cons of OTAs. So if you're listening and you don't know what the moniker OTA means, that's an online travel agent. So that's your Booking.coms, your Expedias, your Orbits, really even like you talk about Airbnb, VRBO, even like a rewards program like Stash. It's a little bit different, but you could probably put them in there. And it is this necessary evil, right? Because at the end of the day, they've got so much. If you just open a property today, like the Local Motel and Shops, perfect example. brand new property just opened, you are not going to be able to find it very easily online until you got some sort of marketing going, right? And so if you were even to go Google local motel and shops right now, if that's all you put in, you're not even going to find it. You'd have to.
No, it's like 6th, 7th down one.
Right. It takes time. You got to do. There's so much that goes into getting your website found through SEO and through marketing and advertising. And so, as much as people hate losing that percentage of revenue to an OTA, because you are paying a commission, and then if you're running a promo or if they have a member benefit, sometimes they're taking upwards of 30% of the revenue for themselves. But what I tell people is change your mind of thinking to that being an ad spend. So let's say that you have a $200 a night room, and let's say you are maxing out and you're paying 30% to Expedia, we'll say. Well, that's $60. So that would be 200 divided by 60 would be a 3.3 times return. That is not great. We would like you to be somewhere at like a 5 times return on your ad dollars. But even then, you spent 60 to make 140. You're not losing, but you just got to make sure that it fits within your parameters. And for us as Vibrant, our goal is to have your OTAs be represented by only 12% of your bookings. But we'll see some properties, like if we just start working with them, where OTAs can represent 70% of their bookings.
Yeah.
And that is not a place you want to be.
It's tough.
That means 70% of your customers aren't actually your customers.
Yeah.
And Meagan's got some insight because she deals with the customers who book on OTAs.
I do.
And they do not get the same experience as a customer who books direct.
100%.
So like, what would you say as a virtual GM? Like, how do you, because you're not a property owner, you're executing the guest experience. Like, what are your pros and cons from your perspective?
Well, pros, you do have more visibility, right? And you're going to get people who are going to book using points or rewards that wouldn't book otherwise.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So you're going to get people in there that you may not get, which is great.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're going to get guests that maybe you don't want, who are just looking for a cheaper deal.
Yeah.
And they're not going to take care of your property, where somebody who's going to book directly or through maybe a different OTA, right? Because not all OTAs are created equally. They're not.
That's a good quote. We could make a sweatshirt with that on there.
Yeah, they're not. So, you don't get to decide. And it limits your interaction because they create an email address for them. So you don't have a direct way to contact them. You can message them through like Expedia, right? But it's not the same. And it limits your ability to actually change the reservation. So when they book through an OTA, I can't help them really. Like if they're wanting to change or cancel, I have to send them back to that OTA, which then is like
that
a long
sucks.
And
Yeah.
they're on the phone with customer service, and then it already sours.
And
that
then in that
relationship.
scenario, they may even have the perception that you just don't want to help them.
Oh, many
Right?
do.
Because you can tell them, like, I can't help you, but they don't know what they don't know, right? So they very much could feel like you're just choosing not to help them because they did book on an OTA. And so then before they even arrived at your property, they already now have an adverse relationship with you.
Right.
Even though you truly aren't able to change the reservation because it's not your reservation, it's Expedia's.
Right. Yeah. My hands are tied in most of those cases. So that's tough. But
And the platforms that we typically will put our guests on are Expedia, Booking.com. Seems like Booking.com gets a lot of international bookings.
Booking.com is challenging.
Are they the worst?
Yeah.
Why is that?
They get a lot of fraud bookings.
They do get a lot of fraud bookings.
Many fraud
What's up
bookings.
with that?
I don't know. I don't know why. I've never seen a fraud booking through Expedia ever.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Also, when you set up your property on Booking.com, the process they make you go through to verify your property is so long and drawn out. And so then you're not getting the credit cards from these guests. So you're having to call these guests, unless you're using their Booking.com software to pay you, which I highly recommend. And that's how we set up the local.
So talk about that for the listener. So if you have Booking.com or if you need to set up Booking.com, talk about why you believe in this.
It's worth paying their processing fee so that they're getting the credit card for the guest. You're not getting those fraud bookings. Like they're dealing with all of those payments. Through them, highly recommend.
Are they remitting your taxes too then?
They're paying that through the rate.
Okay.
So I'm not sure on that. But
because like Airbnb pays them for you.
Well, it depends on where you're at.
Oh, really?
And yeah. So depending on what state you're in, what
Interesting.
county,
I didn't know that.
they may not be able to. So
wow, interesting.
that is something Airbnb will tell you through when you put in the information where you're at.
Good to know.
But yes, if I could go back and set up that way on booking.com for the other properties, I would, because
Can you not change it now?
I don't know if you can.
Worth
so it
looking
sets it
into.
up through Stripe, but they just take care of all that for you. So that really alleviates
nice.
all that headache, which is really
that's
great.
Nice. And then if you were to throw in, so like for us, we won't put properties on VRBO.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan.
And why is that?
I just prefer Airbnb. And I feel like if you're on one, you don't have to be on the other. But I feel like they're just not really with it with the growth that's happening.
Well, and for us, being that we are WebRes Pro advocates, for a long time it didn't connect, right? Like there was no direct connection.
There was no integration.
So it's like that just sucks, because then if someone books on there,
and you're getting the request and having to put it in, that just
easy to miss, easy to have
100%.
an issue with the guest. And so we've just made that choice to not use it. And it seems like even properties that we like brought on and we're still using it, there's always problems.
No, we've shut them down because also the setup process is so different, where Airbnb, right? I love Airbnb. The process is very seamless. You create the listing on Airbnb, it connects over to WebRes Pro.
Yeah.
VRBO, you're basically creating the listing twice. And if there's any errors, you're going to keep getting all these emails like that you have all these errors, right? And it won't put your listing up if there's one thing missing. But a lot of times there's nothing missing. It's just software's just not
frustrating.
Yeah.
So what do you like so much about Airbnb?
I like the guest who book on
It's
Airbnb.
always a good quality guest, because they're usually paying more money.
Oh, they're
almost
always paying more money.
Yeah.
100%. Like they're paying more money. They're usually just really respectful, easy to communicate with. Their platform makes it easy to communicate with these guests. And then it just connects very easily. The app's really easy to use. It's just great. I love Airbnb.
If someone books through Airbnb, are they able to get the Akia messages? Like, do we get that?
Yeah, because we do get their cell phone number. We do not get their emails.
But you do get their
number.
number.
We do get their cell phone numbers.
So do you still send them a guest agreement and everything, or do they sign that?
It still goes. Yeah. There's no guest agreement through
Airbnb.
Yeah.
So they still get that then with us.
They do. A lot of them are like a little like, oh,
what's
did you
this
send
about?
this to? Yeah.
Yeah.
And some won't sign it. And that's okay. You know, they book through that
Because
platform.
Airbnb protects you.
They do protect. Yeah. 100%.
That's really the nicest thing about Airbnb is you know that if something goes wrong, that they're going to take care of it.
They're going to help you. Yeah.
And you can do cool stuff too, like the local that just went live. Then they're going to promote you in the beginning to help you get more exposure, and you can run promos with them and things like that. And so Airbnb is a great platform.
When I feel like their guests are less likely to cancel as well. Like I see a
for
lot
sure.
less cancellations through Airbnb, where other OTAs.
And one of the benefits of like Expedia is you can run like mobile promos and you can opt into these special things. And so like we just executed that strategy at the dwellings last month and got a bunch of growth out of it.
Yeah.
Obviously there was that cost associated with it, but they do have so much more reach than we're ever going to have. And they're going to buy your, like, so if you're doing marketing, they're going to buy your Google ads. Like you Google the dwellings and Expedia and booking.com will buy those ads above you, you know? And so part of the OTAs is understanding that, you know, most people are going to check 7 platforms before they book. And so you got to have a compelling offer. That's why we do our length of stay promos, right? Because you got to have rate parity with the OTAs. So you're not allowed to have a different rate than they do. But a length of stay promo is different. So we can have the same rate as an OTA, but then like we'll do a stay 4 or more, get 25% off. And then we're a way better cost alternative to an OTA. And that is always going to be our pop-up on our website, because most people are going to spend less than 45 seconds on a website. And so you got to connect with them right away. Like you got to have that compelling offer instantly for them to be like, oh, look at that. That's interesting. Right. And essentially you're getting a free night by doing that 4 or more. So you got to have a promo. You got to have a reason for them. And no, you might have a restaurant on site and you're giving a restaurant voucher or something, anything to create the interest for them to book with you directly. And as we talk about rate parity, it's a good segue into why like I love Stash. So if you're a first time listener, Stash is a rewards program that we love to put our properties on. They're specifically for boutique properties, and their owner, Jeff Lowe, he actually worked for Expedia. Yeah. So he came from the dark side. And I think he's trying to repent and make up for all the work he did over there. And now he's helping us find light in the boutique side. And it is such a great program. And what's amazing is because they're a membership, they don't have to have rate parity. So like if you were to go Google a property right now, one of the best tools from a marketing standpoint are those Google hotel ads on the right-hand side. And so you're going to see, if you go look up one of our properties, you'll see their Google hotel ad, you'll see their stash link, and then you'll see like all the OTAs, and the stash one will always be the least expensive because of that membership, right? Because of that rewards program. And that's just a great way to get that intrigue. Even if they end up deciding that they don't want to do stash, they just want to book direct, then they're going to do that anyways.
Yeah.
And
but it's free to sign up for stash,
right.
and they're earning points.
Yeah,
so
why
if they
wouldn't
travel a lot, it makes sense.
And they've got, a bunch of hotels all over the place. They're over 1.2 million members now. If you are listening to this and you are a boutique property, you got to sign up with stash.
Yes.
As long as they're willing to take you, right? Because they're pretty picky on who they allow into their program to protect the program. But if you qualify, you should 100% have stash. Every property that we have that's in that platform gets an unbelievable return on investment for the spend. And again, with us, if you're a part of Vibrant, you get a little bit better rate, you get some additional savings. But whether you are or not with us, stash is super affordable and absolutely worth it.
Well, and for the owners, you get that extra travel benefit, right? If you sign up for the employee program, you can go and travel around for a fraction of the cost.
Well, and I think that's what's so great about hospitality is if you're in the space, you want to be able to be a traveler yourself.
Yes.
Like every time that we go somewhere, I'm looking at how did they do things? Like, what are they using in room? What was a great experience? What did they do that we could incorporate in our property? Like, you want to get out there and see what other properties are doing and get your best practices.
Yes.
Would you ever book a room on Expedia for yourself?
I mean, we have.
Have we?
Yeah, like when we stayed in Denver, because it's like they have those reward programs.
You
so if
did?
you stay nine nights, you get the 10th night free. And
you booked a room on Expedia.
Well, yes. And actually, when we went to California recently, we booked our room on Expedia.
Shame on you.
But listen, we called the hotel. Like, we will match Expedia rates.
This is a good story. Yeah, okay,
if
tell it.
somebody calls and they're like, well, you're cheaper on Expedia, if I can verify it, of course I'm going to give you that price. I'd rather have you as a direct customer than book through Expedia, where I can't help you on your reservation pretty much. So when I
forgot that happened. Yeah, that is so important. If you are listening to this and someone asks you to match an OTA,
match it. Why wouldn't you?
Never, ever, ever don't do that.
Yeah, it's
because
crazy.
if let's say it is less, so let's say you're 200 and Expedia is 180 for whatever reason, right? Because the promos or whatever. Well, if you don't match that 180, they're going to book the 180 and have their other discounts. So you're not going to get even 180, where if you just matched it, you're getting all that $188. And so if you are a front desk employee or you are a small operator or you're a general manager, you think that the staff would know that, but we've listened to calls of other properties and it's shocking.
Oh, yeah. We were like, well, will you match this? And they're like, nope, just go to Expedia and book it. It's like, okay, great.
That's crazy.
So yeah, we did. It saved us a ton of money. They weren't willing to match it. So
man,
we had to.
That's terrible for that property.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I know.
Do not let a guest not become your guest.
I know. So wild. So,
but I mean, look, even as someone in the industry, you are going to do what's best for you.
Well, right.
And it was a better deal. So of course you did it.
Yeah.
Don't let yourself not be the better deal.
Totally.
There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
That's important.
I know. We match it, but you just, sometimes you can't compete with the deals they're getting.
Well, you always can, because if you're the property.
But they don't know that, right?
They should.
But if you were looking, you're like, oh,
I'm not talking about me as the consumer. I'm talking about the owners, right?
I'm talking about a consumer, right? If you're looking, like, are you going to be like, oh, am I going to call? Like some people, well, I called the property.
Yeah, some people would rather just not go through the hassle.
Totally. So yeah, I have booked through Airbnb, and some places you can only book through Airbnb.
That goes back to having a good website again, right? Like, yeah, because like even Jordan at the 505 originally
was just on Airbnb.
Was only on Airbnb.
But
right?
I think a lot of people who are booking on Airbnb aren't really going and looking for websites, right? They're just thinking, oh, this is just on Airbnb. Like if I were looking on Airbnb, I don't know that I would go and Google and see if I could find a website.
It would depend for me how it was set up on Airbnb, right?
I guess if it were multiple properties, maybe. Sure.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That would really, because if it's just a house, I'm not going to go look for that house's website. But what's interesting is we have Hummingbird Villa,
they do have a
which is an amazing property that is just right at the base of Zion National Park. amazing, an incredible pool and hot tub and a great family escape. And they have a website and they get direct bookings.
They do. Yeah.
I wonder how people find that most of the time.
Well, I think a lot of them are repeat customers or repeat guests, right?
That makes
They've
sense.
stayed and then they know they can book that way, save that money, get a discount for being a returned guest because we do that for all of our properties. So, we reward you for staying with us again.
Yeah. That's another thing too for the listeners. Like, treat your existing guests with something special, like giving them that return guest discount, which every owner that will allow us to do it, we do that for them. Well, what is it? 15% usually?
Yeah.
That is so worth it because you're just ensuring that they book back through you. And what's amazing is you can have those promos and sometimes people just don't choose them.
True.
Like, we'll have people book 4 nights and not do the promo.
I know.
I don't get it.
It's strange.
But they don't.
I know.
So
Yeah.
So big takeaways from today's episode, I think, are, put yourself on the OTAs. Don't try and avoid them because it's better to lose that revenue and get the exposure than to not have it at all.
Yes.
So if you have a property and you're not on the OTAs yet, go get on the OTAs. And if it makes sense for your property, get on Airbnb. I'm with you. I wouldn't get on VRBO, but get on Airbnb, invest in a good, compelling website. And if you think your property can meet the standards of Stash, you gotta get on that program.
Yeah.
And if you want to reach out to us directly, you can, and we can set you up, or you can reach out to Audrey at Stash. I'm sure you can find her by just Googling that. But they are such an awesome team. All same way. If you need something, they're so helpful.
So helpful.
Amazing training process.
Yes.
And what's great is if you work with us, we'll do it all for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry
I'll
about
do it all.
Yeah. And when I say we, I really mean Megan.
Me.
Okay. So anything else that you think that we should leave as the takeaway for guests when we're talking about OTAs or that whole digital presence piece that's really important for them to know?
Well, I think just trying to convert those guests who stay at your property and letting them know they can book directly and they will save by booking directly. Even if they're there on Expedia, right? You can get them for future stays.
Yes.
And you can request their emails so that they can get on a list. We changed that a lot, which is really nice.
That's a really, really good point. In fact, we were just talking about the Canal Side the other day, and they had a guest. I think this was her 3rd time coming back, and she originally booked on an OTA.
Yes.
And then we were able to get her to convert to be one of our guests.
Yeah.
And you want that email. You should be also the best customers that you have are your existing customers.
Yes.
So like we at all of our properties, we will reach out to all of our existing customers every single month.
Mm-hmm. With a newsletter.
Yes. Right. Because you want to get back in front of them. And so you want that email to be able to do that. You want their contact information. And if they are going to book back with you, thank them for that business and give them a return guest discount. It's easy to do.
It is.
Okay, well, I feel good about that. Wraps it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are listening and you are interested in having some support in doing this or potentially working with us, you can reach out to me directly. It's Cody@thevibrantteam.com. And you can hop on a call with Megan and I. We'll see if you're a good fit. And if you're not, we'll get you pointed in the right direction, get you pointed up to someone at Stash, or give you just answer some questions. I mean, we're happy to give away information for free. We just want to see everyone succeed. We so appreciate your listeners. And thanks for being with us on another episode of Virtual GM.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thanks.
All right. Well, have a wonderful weekend. Like and subscribe, and we will see you back next week for episode 5.